Book 12, Chapter 8 of The Adventures of Gil Blas of Santillane by Alain René Lesage, translated by Tobias Smollett. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Book 12, Chapter 8, Gil Blas finds that Fabrizio's hint was not without foundation. The King's Journey to Saragossa. The poet of the Asturias was no bad politician. There was a court plot against the Duke with the Queen at the bottom, but their plans were too deeply laid to bubble at the surface. During the space of a whole year my simplicity was insensible to the brewing of the tempest. The revolt of the Catalans, with France at their back, and the ill success of the war for their suppression, excited the murmurs of the people and whetted their tongues against government. A council was held in the royal presence, and the Marquis de Grana, the emperor's ambassador, was specially requested to assist. The subject in debate was whether the king should remain in Castile or go and take the command of his troops in Aragon. The minister spoke first and gave it as his opinion that his majesty should not quit the seat of government. All the members supported his arguments, with the exception of the Marquis de Grana, whose whole heart was with the House of Austria, and the sentiments of his soul on the tip of his tongue after the homely honesty of his nation. He argued so forcibly against the minister that the king embraced his opinion from conviction, though contrary to the vote of council, and fixed the day when he would set out for the army. This was the first time that ever the sovereign had differed from his favourite, and the latter considered it as an inexpiable affront. Just as the minister was withdrawing to his closet, there to bite upon the bridle, he espied me, called me in, and told me with much discomposure what had passed in debate. Yes, Santillane, observed he, the king, who for the last 20 years has spoken only through my mouth and seen with my eyes, is now to be wheedled over by Grana, and that on the score of zeal for the House of Austria, as if that German had a more Austrian soul in his body than myself. Hence it is easy to perceive, continued the minister, that there is a strong party against me, with the queen at the head. Heaven forbid it, said I. Has not the queen for upwards of 12 years been accustomed to your paramount authority, and have you not taught the king the knack of not consulting her? The desire of making a campaign may for once have enlisted his majesty on the side of the Marquis de Grana. Say rather that the king, argued my lord duke, will be surrounded by his principal officers when in camp, and then the disaffected will find their opportunity for poisoning him against my administration. But they overreach themselves, for I shall completely insulate the prince from all their approaches. And so he did, in a manner which, for example, deserves not to be passed over. The day of the king's departure being arrived, the monarch, leaving the queen regent, proceeded for Saragossa by way of Aranjuez, a delightful residence where he whiled away 3 weeks. Cuenca was the next stage, where the minister detained him still longer by a succession of amusements. A hunting party was contrived at Molina in Aragon, and hence there was no choice of road but to Saragossa. The army was near at hand, and the king was preparing to review it, but his keeper sickened him of the project by making him believe that he would be taken by the French, who were in force in the neighbourhood, so that he was cowed by a groundless apprehension, and consented to be a prisoner in his own court. The minister, from an affectionate regard to his safety, secluded him from all approach, so that the principal nobility, who had equipped themselves at enormous charges to be about his person, could not even procure an occasional audience. Philip, weary of bad lodgings and worse recreation at Saragossa, and perhaps feeling himself scarcely his own master, soon returned to Madrid. Thus ended the royal campaign, and the care of maintaining the honour of the Spanish colours was left to the Marquis de los Valles, Commander-in-Chief. End of Book 12, Chapter 8.